If you haven't heard, a recent true crime case has come out of Texas as a 6-year-old was found to be missing. As soon as the family was questioned, they fled the country. However, this little boy hasn't actually been seen for 6 or 7 months. What happened to Noel Rodriguez-Alvarez? Why did his family have a concrete patio poured so quickly at their home before they left? And where are they now? You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I'm Brooke Mckenna, and this is a more recent case, but it is one where we still need so many answers, which is why I'm bringing it to you today. Now, the news outlet WFAA have done an incredible job of covering this story with articles and videos. They have a whole playlist of videos about this case, which I will link all of that down below. I also want to thank our longtime love and sponsor, Native. Native, if you don't know, haven't heard me rave about it, they are aluminum-free deodorant. They're made with ingredients you know, like coconut oil and shea butter. It also protects odor for 72 hours, and they come in so many different scents. Now, they have just launched the Candy Shop collection, which is one of my all-time favorites. They contain the most delicious and craveable scents. From strawberry and vanilla taffy to sour berry belts, and my favorite, which is gummy bears. Seriously, you can get these scents in their deodorants as well as their body washes, their lotions, their hair care, and you will love how you smell throughout the day. It's so intoxicating. So you can use my link down below or my code Brooke Makenna 3 if you would like 20% off your first purchase with Native. And they wanted me to let you guys know that it is for a limited time only, and you can use it site-wide. So go ahead and go crazy. Get some from their Candy Shop collection. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So it was 2023 in Texas, and on March 20th, the Everman police were contacted by the Texas Child Protective Investigations, which of course is the system that investigates different concerns about children, especially when they have involvement with child protective services. Now, the police in Everman were told that there was a 6-year-old boy named Noel Rodriguez-Alvarez who might be missing. Now, Noel was living with his mother, Cindy, and his stepfather, which was named Arshdeep Singh, and they got married in 2020, but this was not the boy's father. Noel also had 6 siblings. They were 11, 9, 8, 7, and then 5-month-old twins. Now, CPI were worried about Noel due to different tips that had been coming in from family members, not of the immediate family, but farther out in the family, and they were worried that they had not seen Noel since November of 2022. So CPI asked the Everman police if they would go over to the home and just conduct some sort of welfare check to check in on Noel. So Police Chief Craig Spencer went to the home of 37-year-old Cindy Rodriguez Singh, which was the mother, and Noel was nowhere in sight. Now, when they asked Cindy where her son was, she did say that he was actually in Mexico with his biological father and had been there since November of 2022. So that made sense as far as why the family members hadn't seen him since then, and so police did leave the residence at this time. However, this wouldn't be the end of the investigation, because 3 days later, CPI was calling Everman police once again because more and more of Noel's family members were calling them and coming forward to say they were very concerned about his well-being. When Everman police told CPI that he was simply with his father in Mexico, they told police that they had contacted his father in Mexico, and not only did he not have Noel, he had never met him. He had been deported while Cindy was pregnant and had never met his son. So at this point, with a missing child, CPI began to look into the well-being of the other siblings that were there in the home with Cindy, and they found that the children were enrolled at this certain school, but when they went over to talk to them at the school, they were not there. They were absent that day, and they were then told that Cindy had actually spoken to the school about starting the process of unenrolling them. Now, I do know that some of the kids were homeschooled, and it's unknown if Noel was. So fearful of the safety of now all 7 children, Cindy was contacted by the police, but this contact was unsuccessful. They could not get a hold of her. And when they started looking further into Cindy Rodriguez Singh, investigators found that she wasn't the perfect mother. Not only did she have an extensive criminal history, allegedly, but Child Protective Services had been in contact with her before and had taken custody away from her. In fact, Noel had been in foster care throughout his life, and with this information and the unknown location of Noel, a warrant was issued for Cindy's arrest. 2 days later, it was March 25th, and that is when the Amber Alert was issued for Noel, and his whereabouts of his entire family were unknown at this point. They were wanted as well. Alert also identified the truck that the family was said to be driving as a Chevy Silverado with a mural of the Saint of Death in Mexico on the back windshield. However, that night at 9 p.m., some answers would be found. However, this was not the answers that anyone was hoping for, because they had found out that the family had fled the country. In fact, on March 23rd, 3 days after they had first done the welfare check, the family had boarded a flight to Turkey and then to India. However, Police Chief Spencer found that Noel was not on this flight at all. He was not among the passengers. He was not with his family. And this is when the Amber Alert was reissued into an Endangered Missing Persons Alert. And the family vehicle was found at that very DFW airport. March 27th, the family home was searched, though this was more of a shed in the backyard of a home where an older gentleman was living. So investigators talked to that man who was allegedly their landlord, and his name was Charles Parson, and he said that he knew that Noel was not there since Thanksgiving of 2022, so about when everybody else was saying as well. But he told the same story, that Cindy had told him Noel was with his father in Mexico.
How I met her is I met her at a grocery store one time. I was thumping some melons, and she come up and so we got to be talking, and then I told her, you know, we got to find out that I'd gone through a pretty bad relationship with somebody for like 11 years. She was a dopehead, and she took me for everything. So she had volunteered that if I needed somebody to come over and cook every now and then, she would. So we did that. So one day she came out and parked her car in front of my house, and it was cold, and she asked me could she sleep right there in front of the house. I said, what do you mean? Her husband or whatever, the guy that got deported to Mexico, had left her with no rent money, no food, no nothing, no diapers. And so I told her, look, I got 2 extra rooms. Y'all are willing to come in if y'all want to come in and stay there. I said, I'm not going to charge you rent. So then later on, she ended up meeting her husband to be at one of them little stores down the street, and they ended up getting married because CPS had come out here when they had taken her kids originally, because she did have a DWI and she did have a drinking problem when she was here. I quit drinking altogether because of her DWI. And anyway, she had been clean for like 2 or 3 years because she had a breathalyzer, so she has to do that. But she was on probation, like 8 to 10 years if she broke it. That's why she fled, because when they came again, they couldn't find Noel. And she supposedly told him where she took him. I don't know where she took him, have no idea. The story I'd got that she had taken him to the father. The father didn't want him, but the sister did. And so she left him with the sister. Now, I can't verify that because I don't know none of it to be a fact.
However, Charles also knew that CPS had taken the children from Cindy before due to her drinking problems, and that she feared it would happen again. In fact, one of Noel's foster mothers actually came forward when this news came out, saying that she cared for him for about a year back in 2020, and that he was a playful boy who would giggle often and fill the house with joy. Foster mom was saying that he would follow her around everywhere like her shadow, and he would often call her mother, and she had to remind him that she wasn't. She said that she was allegedly called by the agency, the foster care agency, and told that 3 siblings needed a placement. So this wasn't just Noel, but one was with special needs, who was Noel. And they thought it was a good fit because this foster parent had worked with children with autism, and so he was with them for about a year. Then he went back to his mother at the end of 2021.
I would say, Sweet Pea. He would say, Mommy. I would say, no, Noel, I'm not your mom. I'm Sweet Pea. He'd say, no, you're Mommy.
Now, this foster mother was actually the one who would reveal a little bit more about Noel's medical conditions, because Noel was said to be a preemie born at 23 weeks old and needed medical attention as well as his breathing machine. He also had physical as well as mental delays in certain areas and speech issues as well. The foster mother said that there was one time when she got to FaceTime Noel after he went back to his mother. This was in 2022, but Patricia said that she would have taken Noel back. No matter what, she said, my prayer is that they find him so we can put him to rest. Noel was my baby. I didn't have him, but because I'm so attached to little kids, he was part of our family. He knew that. Even as a preemie, he overcame a lot of obstacles that he had to face in life. We just want justice for Noel. Now, at this point, police would inform the public that they were using cadaver dogs as well as sonar technology on the property where they lived, especially a patio that was made of concrete due to a tip that was called in about that patio. You see, investigators had also found a carpet that the stepfather had allegedly thrown out the day prior to them fleeing the country, and the carpet was found in a nearby dumpster, and cadaver dogs alerted to the scent of human remains on the carpet. The landlord would then inform them that this carpet normally lined the floor of a makeshift storage shed, which had then been turned into that patio. Cindy had the patio built in March 2023 and was allegedly very much in a hurry to get this job done, but she also kept changing what she wanted, and she asked for the concrete to be thicker on one side. Now, police did end up removing this patio, and the cadaver dogs allegedly alerted to something underneath. However, they did not find a body.
The slab was poured after Noel supposedly had disappeared. You know, I mean, why would he be underneath the slab? I think they just tore it up because they don't have no idea where the boy is, and they're frustrated. She built the slab because, you know, she had the twins. She wanted to build a patio so the twins would have someplace she could sit in the patio and watch her kids play on the trampoline and the swings back there during the summer. But she eventually was going to add another room to the back of the house because her oldest daughter, the one that was with her now, not her oldest, but the one that lived with her, was going to need a room. She wanted a room, build a room. That's why it was heavy on one end. They kept saying it was heavy on one end because she was actually going to build another room back there.
But you know why, if she had all those plans, she suddenly up and left?
Scared that she was going to go to prison for 8 years and then not watch her kids grow up. Her you know, you take away from her twins, she ain't going to get to see them if she goes to prison.
She was scared that she was going to go to prison because
Noel was
missing?
Yeah, because that and CPS is going to come take her kids to start off with. You know that with Noel missing, you know they're going to take the kids. And now people are saying she was abusive. I've never seen her abuse Noel or any of the kids. I know the police are desperate to find the boy, but they're looking in the wrong place is all I can say, because he's not here.
Where do you think he is?
I have no idea. I think he's in Mexico, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think he's alive, and that's why I told him I wasn't going to go to that deal they had last night. Because until you show me a body that he's dead, then I'll believe you. Because I think no way he's dead. Somebody's got him. Somebody's scared that they're going to get in trouble with the law because they've got him, and they got him illegally, basically. She didn't go through the courts like I asked her. Like I told her, if you're going to adopt Noel, go through the court system, but she didn't do that. I wished I would have been here. I think I could have talked her out of going, but I wasn't here. And her husband's from over there. I don't know what kind of story it is. I don't know how they're going to hide it. I don't know nothing about Expedition or whatever, how they're going to get them. They were good. They're good parents. I mean, they love their kids. They really love their kids. Why would you can check the kids' grades in school? The girl was making straight A's. The boy was a B student. She got another girl that was an A student. Does that sound like kids that are being abusive? You go back there and see all the toys they got. They got more toys that I'm going to end up throwing away than a man could shake a fist at. They're not rich.
Now, in the search warrant for the home and the patio that was released to the public, it was revealed that another tip had been sent into the police that was very important. And this claims that Noel wasn't deceased, he had been sold. You see, Cindy's brother had told investigators that Noel had been taken by his mother to a Fiesta Mart and sold to an unknown female. The brother said that Cindy told him not to contact the woman because she didn't want to get in trouble with CPS and get them involved. But Cindy's brother knew that she wasn't necessarily a good mother because He claimed that once Cindy brought Noel over to his house and she told him not to give him any water because she didn't want to clean his dirty diaper. The brother had a wife who allegedly gave him water anyways because he was thirsty, and when Cindy found out about this, she allegedly took him in another room and hit Noel with car keys. After this, the brother claimed he had never seen Noel again. The police said that there had been multiple stories about his whereabouts, about what happened to him. On April 6th, the press conference was held where Police Chief Spencer would inform the public that Noel was no longer considered an endangered missing persons because they believed that he was likely dead. They also believed he had been dead for possibly 6 months now. But they did claim to have ruled out Cindy's claims that she had sold him at this Fiesta Mart, and they did not believe that he was a victim of any sort of trafficking. What they concluded was that he was alive only up until that last week of October 2022, because there weren't many sightings of Noel throughout his life. In fact, on July 21st of 2022, Noel had been seen by a speech therapist, though after that he was missing so many different doctor's appointments for his speech delay, his esotropia in both eyes, his chronic lung disease, and other illnesses. And because of this, the Texas Department of Health and Services began sending warning letters to Cindy saying that she was not going to get her benefits for him if he was not seeing a doctor. Now, instead of taking Noel to the doctor, Cindy allegedly asked a friend of hers who had a son around the same age to pretend to be Noel so she could take him to the appointment, but she said that this was because Noel had COVID. Though he was still said to be alive in October of 2022 because that is when his mother would give birth to the twins, and he was with family at the hospital, though some did say that he looked unhealthy and malnourished. In November of 2022, when his family reported that they had not seen him since that point, it was found that Cindy had purchased passports for the entire family except Noel. And a few days later, online data would show that she was searching for different costs of things in India. It was believed that the family had planned their escape 6 months prior. Investigators were also allegedly told by the family members that while Cindy was pregnant, she began to call Noel evil, possessed, and that he had a demon in him, and she was afraid that he was going to harm the twins. Now, inside of the home that they lived in, investigators also found a shrine to Mexico's death saint that belonged to Cindy. She had many different items relating to this, and it's allegedly associated with the Mexican cartel and trafficking, and just an overall very dark thing to worship. And that is the same mural that was on the back of their truck as well. But by April 10th, that is when the community held a vigil for Noel. And by April 18th, it was 28 days since the welfare check, and investigators began to believe that there could be more people involved. They claimed to have found communication between the stepfather and the mother with other people prior to them fleeing the country, and investigators claimed to be interviewing these individuals, though names were not released, and I could not find any further information due to this being an ongoing case. But by April 22nd, ground and drone searches continued. There were many happening during this time, of course, of the home, but they were also focusing on land, especially 215 acres of land on Bluebell Drive in Everman, as well as land near Shelby Road near Village Creek. Items of interest were said to be found in these searches, though they could not be directly connected to the case. They are still working on testing it to make sure that it cannot be directly connected. But Noel's biological father at this point had known about all this because he was questioned in the beginning if he had Noel. But he was said to be working with the police. He wanted any information that they had, even though he had no custody of Noel. He had never met him, and he had no involvement with him at the time. He was still worried about his son. On April 25th, another press conference was held, and Everman police announced that Noel's stepfather, Arshdeep Singh, had bought the plane tickets that they used to flee the country. He had also stolen the money to buy these plane tickets because he worked at a store that was Azil Food Mart, and he ended up changing their cash deposit records to remove $10,000 in cash from them, and then he went to the bank and deposited $8,000 into his account. He was actually caught in the surveillance footage of the bank putting this stolen money in.
Good afternoon. I've got a few updates for you regarding the ongoing investigation into Noel Rodriguez-Alvarez. At this time, investigators are continuing to analyze data to determine if and where any additional searches may be conducted. There is simply some data that I cannot go into details on in order to protect the integrity of the investigation and in order to ultimately seek justice that Noel deserves. Investigators also noticed an abnormally large cash deposit into Arshdeep's bank account. This deposit took place on March 22nd, just hours before fleeing the country. Arshdeep had access to the company's safe as a part of his normal job responsibilities. Investigators learned that Arshdeep first fraudulently altered the company's cash deposit records, likely in order to prevent detection, and then removed over $10,000 in cash from the company's safe, traveled to the nearest bank, and deposited $8,000 of that cash into his own personal account. This investigative team has spent thousands of man-hours on this case, have followed more than 70 leads, issued more than 24 search warrants, arrest warrants, and subpoenas, and conducted countless interviews. We will continue to fight for Noel until we have the answers that we need, and I want to thank everybody for your overwhelming amount of support that this team has received during the course of this investigation. We know and understand how important this case is to the community and stand by our promise to do everything that we can in this case. So right now we have one warrant issued for Cindy for giving false information related to a missing child case. That's a Class C misdemeanor. That was one of the first warrants we issued. She also has an additional warrant for violation of probation that was issued shortly after the Amber Alert was issued. We have felony 2 warrants for abandoning or endangering a child, which are issued for both Cindy and Arshdeep. And now we've got a felony theft charge issued for Arshdeep in addition to. And as we continue to work through this, of course, if we identify any other charges, we're going to continue to get warrants for those charges as well. Cindy told family members to lie to police about seeing Noel recently. Family lived in squalor, however, chose to spend nearly their entire tax return on a newly constructed patio for a home that they don't even own. Arshdeep disposed of a single indoor-outdoor carpet in a dumpster the night before leaving the country, however, leaves the remainder of the squalor and trash behind in the home, shed, and backyard.
Arshdeep's coworker claimed that he was a good guy, that he wouldn't have thought that he would do something like this until the day that he fled. Now, federal agents are believed to be searching for the wanted family over in India, possibly other places, but FBI are working to find and extradite them back from India. The Everman Police Department said they will continue to be looking for Noel and they're hoping to find him, but they can't necessarily help things that are happening in another country.
I mean, our morale is not affected by what's happening on the federal front. Our entire focus has been on investigating this case, finding leads on where Noel is, and then ultimately proving what happened to him. That's our team's focus, and that's 100% where we're focused. Attention and your efforts here in the media have been instrumental in this case. The tips have been extremely instrumental in this case, getting the information that we've needed. This whole case started from a tip. So it's paramount that that the tips come in and anybody with information call us.
That is when Cindy's mother, so Noel's grandmother, would start to do interviews, and she did not want to be named or shown, but she described Noel as a very sweet and loving child, and that she would often take care of her daughter's children, all of them, except for Noel, because Cindy would never let her take care of Noel. But the grandmother did an interview, and she said that she wants her daughter to confess where Noel is and to surrender. Now, Cindy and Arshdeep remain on the run, allegedly in India, and please share their photos as well as Noel's photos so we can get answers and justice can be given, because Noel still has not been found either. Anyone with information regarding Noel's case, please contact the Everman Police Department at 817-293-2923. Did he disappear that November? Was it sometime after that? What do you think occurred? I really want to hope for the best, but even the police have said that he is likely dead. But how in the world did it take 6 months for a welfare check to be conducted? And in those 6 months, the family was able to plan this escape and really go through with it. I just truly hope that his family, we shouldn't even be calling it that, because what kind of family would do this? The people who were supposed to be taking care of him. I really hope that they're found and that we can demand answers from them, or at least get them locked up if they're not going to tell us any answers. But please, if you know anything about Noel or where he could possibly be, or if he was trafficked, or if he was buried somewhere, please come forward with that information. It is so important. If you saw somebody on the side of the road, if you saw a random hole that you thought was strange, if you saw a piece of clothing, all of that matters. If you are over in India, or if you can get over there, or if you are just out and about, look around for Cindy and Arshdeep, because we don't know where they are. And you could be the one that helps Noel get justice. So keep an eye out. But don't forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces. Okay.